Bringing you MP40 highlights from the 2021 SeaTac Takeoff. Today our featured player is Corey Hood from Nampa, Idaho. Now today's highlights, we're going to start from hole 7 as the cameraman had to finish up his round. And to get you caught up from the first 6 holes, Hood is shooting 3 down after going par on number 1 and a bogey on number 3, but managing to get a birdie on the others. And here we are starting on hole 7. Really a hole that you can see a lot of players picking up strokes on, and this is a long position today, and you can see he just manages to get a forehand. Great distance and position for him to run a birdie. Just goes past it, ends up walking away with a par. I will add that he went on to birdie hole 8. Here we are jumping over to hole 9. And his tee shot off of hole 9 misses all the trees, gets around the lash bush on the end, and actually eventually goes on to birdie. Moving on to hole 10. Great drive. Looks like he parks this one. Birdie tap in. Moving on to hole 11. Looks a little early out of his hand, but manages to get decent distance out of this drive. Steps up, and what a throw in from well outside circle too. He's a little shocked that he's even made that, but he's currently on fire, shooting 7 down at this point. To hole 12. Tries to find that left gap with the forehand, but looks to have turned it over, but he's gone pretty good distance, but now has himself a tricky upshot here, guarded by the trees. Just going with a little flick with his zone, and that's going to work out nicely. Relative tap in for his par. He would go on to bogey hole 13, and here we see him on hole 14. Can he get a little bit of a bounce back? Ooh, gets a little bit of a tree kick and still manages to go forward, and his card mates are acknowledging his fortune here, and makes it onto the green edge of circle 1, perhaps circle 2. Goes on to can another birdie, get himself back on that good ways. And here we are on hole 16, another tricky hole. Rarely see a birdie. It likes to go with a roller option here, and not in terrible position, but he's now forced to have to come out with a little forehand flick, and he does manage to get around that little berm. That berm is tricky. If you do not get past that, you're setting yourself up for a testy putt. And here he goes, just amazed with his putting today as he shakes his head, walks away with a clean par. Nicely done on 16. Hole 17, you definitely want to finish left. He just barely clips a tree as he's trying to fade left, and left with a tricky upshot. Goes with a rhino approach and gets himself again just within striking distance. Again, just he has found his putting stroke today, and it just seems like he cannot miss. Moving on to 19. Goes high, and he does get a little late turn through the trees and manages to get himself in a really good position, fairly open. A little visitor from hole 21, looks like. Seems to be unfazed from that distraction, and what an upshot. Eventually finds himself underneath that basket for an easy tap in birdie. Moving on to 21, 9 down. Another great turnover drive. Ends up getting himself in the right side of this middle tree, and just a good position to just have a run at it. And he just lands 20 feet past, and to keep the birdie train going. He's now 10 down. On the 22, and this tree tends to gobble up most drives, especially right-hand sidearm drives, and now left with a really tricky approach. There are some sidearm lines, and of course tight backhand lines. He's electing to go backhand here, and super smooth out of the hand. This is, I believe, his T-bird, and yep. Card mates like it. He likes it. Another birdie. He would go on to bogey hole 24 and finds himself at 10 down, and here we are on 26, a must-get hole, and crashes down before the pin. Should be a relative, yep, easy birdie there. Now coming into hole 27. Another great approach. Looks like an ace run, but just falls short. He'll end up tapping out here and walking away out of round 1, being 12 down. Not a bad way to get off to the tournament. Definitely sitting with a tremendous cushion. As we see here, confirming the UDisc scorecard. Sitting at 12 down after round 1. Let's see if he can keep this momentum going into round 2. Hole 3. Hits an early tree and definitely will find himself with a lot of trouble trying to just navigate his way down to the basket. Not a bad effort to get out of trouble, get himself back in the fairway. Going again with another roller. Looks like he's using his Rhino again, and just probably wanted to find that left gap instead, and this is to save bogey and gives it a genuine bid, but goes past. Another testy comeback and just barely scoots over, and he's gonna start off his round with a double bogey, so finding himself at 10 under. Manages to par his way out all the way through to hole 12. This time he tries to go with a higher line as opposed to round 1, just trying to make sure he doesn't turn it over. Decent position to actually have a bid. Just falls beyond. Contrasting rounds from the previous, and you just see here, wow, just coming up really short, uncharacteristic putt. Just kind of shows the kind of round he's having today. On the 15, looks like he turns this one over to the right side of the fairway. Let's see if he can bounce back here. Yep, nails a birdie. Really needed that one. Again, probably just frustrated today that he's just not able to get anything going. And on to 16, he tries again with a roller, forehand roller. Similar position, probably 15 feet back, 15, 20 feet back. Trying the same upshot. Has to get around that corner and doesn't look like it. He falls really short. Now it's just a safe par. Leaves that short. Gonna eventually kind of take away another bogey. Eventually pars out, which is good, but then finds himself on 26. Only has a 3-shot lead at this point, and again, potential ace run goes just past. Shout out to Chris May, who narrowed down the gap between him and Hood, and Corey here to extend the lead, get a little bit more breathing room. Goes back to 10 down. And on the walk up to the final hole, similar shot to what we saw in round 1. And he'll just finish off with a little tap in birdie to finish. Ended up being +1 on the day, but it seemed to have been enough. Shout out to Chris May for really making a charge. He had a hot round today of being 7 down. And Tony Beckett finishing 3rd. There you go, your MP40 champion.